everyone, and welcome to another episode of Blissful Beings. We are your hosts, Janine and Dr. Mel, and today we're tackling a topic that affects many of us in our fast-paced lives, burnout. We've invited Mandy Schul, a licensed therapist and expert on stress management, to share insights on how to avoid burnout and achieve a healthier work-life balance. Thank you for being here, Mandy. Burnout is a prevalent issue today. To kick things off, could you define what burnout is and why has it become such a pervasive problem?
Of course, Janine, Melissa, thank you so much for having me. So I guess the easiest way to describe burnout, it's the feeling of feeling overwhelmed and feeling exhausted by everything that you're doing, yet still feeling worried that what you're doing isn't enough. There's three important stages of burnout that I usually are like the telltale signs. So emotional exhaustion, which is like the fatigue that comes with caring too much and caring for too long. Depersonalization, which is the depletion of empathy, caring, and compassion, and then a decreased sense of accomplishment. So feeling conquered by everything, like you just can't, what's the point anymore? And that nothing you do will make a difference. I guess it's becoming more important or it's becoming more of a problem because life in general is becoming stressful. We have so many expectations. We wear so many hats where you have to please so many people, all while keeping a smile on our face. So I think also to social media and just the fact that we have such accessibility to seeing what other people are doing, our brains just go straight to comparing, and comparison is the thief of joy. So we're just like, oh, we need to get to this, we need to get to that.
But being aligned with that in general, and I now that I've done a lot of work on myself and been like very in tune with my feelings, is that you have to have main character energy. And for
Mhm.
me, it's like when I'm focused on myself is one thing, but once I go on social media and like start comparing to where people are at, and then I'm like, oh, I'm not doing that well in my company, but
Yeah.
from outside perspective, I'm doing great if I just focus on me. So social media, I don't want to say it's the devil, but it can really, there's a lot of good tools you could use
Yeah.
on social media, don't get me wrong, but the comparing, and human beings just have that natural like comparing.
Yeah.
So it can, definitely lead you down.
Yeah, we are so connected, but unfortunately very disconnected because of the thoughts and feelings of comparison. It kind of makes us like put a divide into what the point of social media was supposed to be.
Is there like these red lights or first signs of burnout that people might be able to pause and reflect and be like, hey, I'm heading down a bad path. Let me kind of recalibrate.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest thing too is like what I'm going to say, I think is so much easier said than done. And it may sound so simple, but people really need to have self-reflection and recognize one of the biggest signs, I think, is like having excessive ambition. All or nothing thinking, I'm going to do this. And I think one of the biggest signs too is like, are you doing it for the right reasons? Like, are you doing it is your ambition to impress others, to prove something to your family, to prove something to someone other than being authentic with it? If you have that ambition without having authenticity aligned, then you're going to work harder, maybe longer than normal, and neglect your own needs. And then you might see a decrease in job performance. You might be seeing someone in your workplace be more irritable, so they're not as like happy and cheerful and buying everyone donuts on a Monday. um, they might just start avoid being around as much or wanting to like engage. So really just I think like starting to isolate. You might see people be like, oh wow, you need a vacation. Like, are you okay? And they might be in a lot of denial about your suggestions. So those are, I think, one of the biggest things is just like recognizing what are your intentions and are you feeling absolutely drained, like no more energy in the gas tank, that now it's coming to the weekend and you have to go see friends and family and that feels like a job.
And what would you think would be like the easiest way to reverse some of this burnout? Like, would there be a strategy to start or a checklist that people can go through to see, or there's any tools like that available for people to check if they're too
Mhm.
much out of balance or not in alignment or being overproductive in any way?
Yeah, and I think that comes to like too from like a work culture of just like people wanting to focus more on what are their intentions, right? So I think a lot of what we're talking about, it comes down to a personal thing of why am I doing this and why do I want to do this? Like, and don't get me wrong, I think everyone needs to like pay their bills and they need to like have their mortgage and we need to work, but it's like, am I doing this, I guess, for the wrong reasons? So that I know that sounds kind of funny, but that would be like the biggest thing. I think starting to recognize your emotions throughout the day and your physiological responses that come up with it. I think start taking into account what people are telling you. For example, I know many of my clients, or I've experienced so many family members that they have these high achieving jobs, and then all of a sudden it comes to the weekend and they are getting belligerent.
It's funny because like it seems so much easier said than done. Figure out what makes you feel good and then do more of that.
Yes.
So it's just like if you're enjoying taking a lunch break, find more time throughout your day to take time to do that so that you could recharge. And sometimes, at least for me, it's shutting my door to my office, to my employees for
Yep.
10 minutes. I can come to myself, I could take deep breaths, I could recharge so that I could show up for the people around me at a better vibrational, higher self. So it's just like find things that feel good and incorporate that. And I'm not saying, turn your whole life around, but just take those small steps to lead yourself to vibrating higher on a daily basis.
The biggest thing too is I don't think we talk about it too much is like just recognizing what your emotions are. There's a stress cycle and we have external stressors and internal stressors. So for example, if there's a client, say you're working and all of a sudden a client is like, oh my God, I need this done within 24 hours. And you're obviously going to get it done. Like just getting it done and avoiding how maybe mundane that task actually was or how much that task frustrated you doesn't allow you to actually process the emotion fully. So just because you got the thing done, just because you finished your week, take some time to what Janine you're saying, like is mindfulness and focusing on like, how did that actually make me feel? Did that take time away from my family? Did that take time away from me working out when that was my New Year's resolution? That's frustrating. You're allowed to be annoyed and frustrated. I think people get so scared about being annoyed and frustrated because they think it's going to send them down a spiral. But again, to like what you said, Janine, no, when you allow yourself to be frustrated, you are able to put more time and energy back into your work.
Yes. And for me, I think it's just been developing that awareness of my feelings and just being able to navigate that better.
Yeah, not being critical and paying
Yeah,
attention.
for sure. So communication and self-care seem to be key elements in preventing burnout. Can you share any personal tips or success stories from your high-achieving woman that you are a therapist for and how to overcome and avoid burnout?
I think the biggest thing, especially for women, they think that, or many of my clients have said, and I've even experienced this, like if I show emotion, then I'm weak. Showing emotion does not equivalent weakness. And that once you take a step back and look at, like I said, the external stressors and see how they're affecting how you're feeling. Like, so if there's an external stressor of just an annoying boss, how is this annoying boss impacting how I think and feel about myself? Okay, now I can set boundaries. I can increase effective communication. I can start making time, whether it's I'm leaving work 30 minutes early. That could be a huge step into just setting that boundary. It doesn't need to be a whole job career switch, but like I've had so many women tell me that they just feel more connected with themselves. They've started to wear their hair curly if they have naturally curly hair. They've started to dress a little bit more how they want to dress and not care so much about wanting to be liked and just being themselves once they've been able to be mindful of what their presence actually is in the job and take in their surroundings.
So, Amanda, this has been absolutely amazing and insightful. Being in the wellness space myself, what would be your overwhelming arching insight that you would give anybody that walked into your door, that if it was the top advice you wanted to leave them, what would you leave with them today?
That is such a loaded question. But I would think that just by walking in the door and seeking professional help, whether it is through therapy or coaching, that is an amazing step, and to be really proud of yourselves, because it's not easy asking for help. That's something that I think we've shied away from, and again, think of as a weakness. So asking for help, being able to put that ego aside and say, no, I need help. As a therapist, all my clients don't meet medical diagnoses. So we're not going to sit there and make you feel like you have debilitating depression and you need to
Yes,
quit your
please
job.
don't. That's the worst thing a therapist can do, by the way. It's
Yeah,
like,
we're not going to judge you. I mean, do your homework on your therapist. That's not something
like a therapist is like having a mentor and a coach.
Yeah.
And like, I think that you need that. If you're looking for growth and expansion, you need a mentor in your life, whether it's a sport, whether it's a business, whether it's personal advancement. So see Amanda as, your mentor and not as a therapist who's going to label or judge you. And Mandy, where can people find you?
Of course. So you can find me right now. I have my Instagram. It's at Mandy Graham Coaching. Also my Facebook right now, working on a website to help spread the love.
Thank you for listening to Blissful Beings with Dr. Mel and myself, Janine. If these episodes resonate with you, please show us support by subscribing to our channel and sharing our podcast with a friend. You can also connect with us over Instagram at Live Well with Dr. Mel and at Janine Cassio. We look forward to keeping in touch.